Look, I know what you're thinking. It's just a guy fixing the Wi-Fi. And I swear I went into it like that too. Hair in a lazy bun. Wearing that old college sweatshirt with coffee stains I keep pretending are vintage. Definitely not trying to impress anyone. But the second I opened the door and saw him, really saw him, everything got scrambled. Like my brain had suddenly switched to airplane mode. He was tall in that lanky, confident way, with a crooked grin like he knew something about me I didn't even know yet. Tool bag slung over one shoulder, sleeves pushed up, forearms casually tanned, like he spent more time under the sun than behind a screen. Definitely not the pale, awkward IT guy I was expecting. "Hi," he said like he was letting the word taste me. "You called about the Wi-Fi?" "No such asterisk T I did." He stepped inside, eyes scanning the apartment like he was already mapping me out. I tried to act casual, but it was like every nerve under my skin had just decided to start broadcasting live. "Yeah, it's been cutting in and out all week," I managed, trying not to stare. "I work from home. It's a bit of a disaster." He glanced at me and raised one brow. "Disaster's a strong word. Let me take a look. I'm good with signals." His tone dipped just enough to make me pause. "Okay. No. That was flirting, wasn't it?" While he poked around the router, crouched low with his shirt pulling tight across his back, I found myself leaning on the counter watching. Shamelessly, I told myself I was just curious about what he was doing. But my thoughts were already in places they absolutely should not have been. At one point he looked back at me like he felt me watching and smiled. Slow. Knowing. And I swear I felt it all the way down my spine. The funny thing is, nothing actually happened then. We didn't touch. Barely even spoke beyond tech stuff. But the air between us had shifted. It was warm. It was charged. When he finally stood up and said, "You're all set," I was disappointed. Actually disappointed. Like, how ridiculous is that? He handed me a little scrap of paper with the new Wi-Fi password scribbled in his clean, careful handwriting. I looked down at it and I swear I laughed out loud. It read, "Your_body_disrupts signal." I looked up, ready to say something snarky. But he was already at the door, slinging his bag back over his shoulder, throwing me one last look that lingered just a second too long. "Have a good one," he said. And then he was gone. I stood there, heart racing, still smiling like a fool, until I opened my laptop and logged into the support site, just to double-check everything was running smooth. And that's when I saw it. The last message in the chat thread from my technician. "I can set up more than just your Wi-Fi." My breath caught. My fingers hovered over the keys. What the hell had just happened? Because suddenly my connection problems weren't just technical. And honestly, I was already thinking about how to get him back. Okay, so, backstory. You're probably wondering how I ended up flirting with a guy whose job title might actually include Ethernet. It all started with a storm, literal and emotional. A week ago, lightning hit something and my Wi-Fi went from working-ish to mysteriously dead. Like it ghosted me. Left me hanging mid-zoom, froze during Netflix, and cruelly cut me off right as I was about to send a flirty DM that had taken me an hour to draft. Total betrayal. I tried to be a grown-up about it. Reset the router, jiggled cords, whispered threats to the modem. Nothing. So I finally called tech support, which was a circle of hell I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. After 3 transfers and a woman named Sharon who kept calling me ma'am like I was 80, I was told they'd be sending a technician within 3 to 5 business days. Cue despair. I wasn't expecting someone like him. I figured it'd be some middle-aged guy with Dorito dust on his shirt and strong opinions about motherboard capacitors. Instead, I got flirty, golden-smiled Wi-Fi Jesus, who not only resurrected my internet but somehow short-circuited my whole emotional system in 27 minutes flat. And here's the thing, it wasn't just his looks. Okay, they helped. A lot. But it was the way he looked at me. Like I was interesting. Like I was more than a job ticket. Like maybe he felt it too? It was subtle, the kind of thing you could write off if you wanted to. A longer glance. The brush of his hand when he passed me the router. The slight smile when I asked him if signal interference was tech speak for flirting badly. But I didn't write it off. Not really. Not when he left that note. Your_body_disrupts signal. Who even does that? And what kind of guy slips something like that into your day like a spark you don't know what to do with? I should have let it go. I mean, he was just doing his job. Flirting with customers is probably a reflex for guys like him, harmless, forgettable, like a compliment from a bartender. Except I couldn't forget it. So yeah, maybe I did log back into the support chat that night. Just to, make sure everything was working. That's when I saw it. I can set up more than just your Wi-Fi. I stared at the screen, stunned. My cheeks actually burned. Not from embarrassment. From something else. Anticipation, maybe. Curiosity. Desire? And that's when the really stupid idea hit me. What if I broke it again? Just enough to need a second visit. I know. Desperate? Maybe. Pathetic? A little. But the connection wasn't the only thing I wanted to test. And I had a feeling that if he came back, he might not be in such a hurry to leave. So, I broke it. Not dramatically. I didn't smash the router or pour wine on the modem. I'm not a monster. I just unplugged one suspicious-looking cable and tucked it gently behind the shelf, like a little secret I'd planted in the universe. The next morning I filed another support ticket, trying to sound casual in the notes. Issue returned. Signal unstable again. Probably nothing. But maybe someone should check? I didn't ask for him. That would have been too obvious. But I hoped. And apparently the Wi-Fi gods were on my side. Because when I opened the door that afternoon, there he was. Same easy smile. Same rolled up sleeves. Same subtle tilt of the head, like he could already tell I wasn't entirely innocent. Hey again, he said, his voice like warm static. Signal acting up? I shrugged, feigning innocence badly. Apparently. Thought we fixed it, but maybe it just wanted a little more attention. His mouth twitched. He knew. We didn't say much while he got to work. He crouched again, close to where I was standing this time, his shoulder brushing my ankle more than once. Not on purpose. Maybe. Or maybe he just didn't move away when he could have. At one point I knelt beside him to ask a question I didn't actually care about, something about bandwidth, and when I did, our faces ended up so close that I caught the scent of him. Not cologne. Just clean laundry and something warm underneath. Skin maybe. Heat. I looked at his hands, steady, tanned, fingers moving confidently across the ports and cables, and my body reacted before my brain could intervene. My stomach did this ridiculous flip. My breath stuttered. I felt flushed. Why was this so stupidly hot? It's not like he was touching me, but somehow I felt touched. He looked up suddenly, catching me mid-stare, and for a second, neither of us said a word. That moment hung in the air like held breath. And I swear to God, if he'd reached out right then, if he'd even thought about closing the gap between us, I wouldn't have stopped him. But he didn't. Instead he smiled. Soft. Knowing. A little cruel. Should be good now, he said, standing slowly. Unless something else disconnects. I watched him walk toward the door, every part of me buzzing with something I didn't know what to do with. But before he left, he turned back, one hand on the knob. I left a note with the new password, he added. And then just like last time, he was gone. I rushed to the router like a woman possessed. And there it was on another folded scrap of paper. Let understand properly. I didn't know whether to scream, laugh, or throw myself into the nearest cold shower. Instead, I opened my laptop and stared at the connection status. And just like that, I started wondering what else I could accidentally unplug. I told myself I wasn't going to do it again. Seriously. I gave myself the little lecture, like a mom scolding a drunk teenager. You are not breaking your internet just to see a hot stranger. You are an adult. You pay taxes. This is not who you are. And then my internet mysteriously dropped again 3 days later. Hey, listen. I didn't plan that one. I swear. Maybe the universe just wanted a sequel. This time when he showed up, he didn't even knock. I'd left the door cracked, which sounds like the beginning of something inappropriate, but honestly, it just felt natural. Like we'd skipped the polite stage and moved into something else. Something unspoken. He stepped in, eyes already scanning me. I wasn't in sweats this time. I'd thrown on a soft, slouchy sweater that fell off one shoulder and shorts that were absolutely not meant for guests. Comfortable. Dangerous. You're starting to feel like a habit, I said, half smiling. He raised an eyebrow. Bad one. I tilted my head. I haven't decided yet. The silence after that wasn't awkward, it was electric. like we were both waiting for the other to do something stupid. He got to work again, this time slower. Like he wasn't in a rush. Or maybe like he wanted me to come closer. So I did. I stood near him, close enough to feel the warmth radiating off his body. Not touching, just aware. Every movement he made seemed exaggerated in my head. The stretch of his arm, the way his shirt pulled across his back, the soft sound of his breath as he focused. I leaned over to ask something, I don't even remember what. And my hand brushed his shoulder. He didn't flinch. He turned his head, his face suddenly inches from mine. And in that single heartbeat, everything felt like it slowed down. His breath was warm on my cheek. His gaze dropped to my mouth. Mine dropped to his hands. I think my pulse actually stuttered. If he'd leaned in even half an inch. But he didn't. He stood up instead, slowly, deliberately, keeping his eyes on mine. You know, he said. I think this system likes me. Oh yeah? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. It only breaks when I'm not around. The tension between us tightened, pulled taut like a string about to snap. But we both held back. Maybe out of caution. Maybe out of fear. Or maybe because we knew. The next time we gave in, there'd be no going back. He left me with another note, tucked under my coffee mug. Still interfering under signal. And honestly, yeah, he was. I wasn't expecting him that day. It was late, almost 7:30, and I was in the middle of cleaning up a mild kitchen disaster involving pesto, white wine, and my complete lack of focus. The knock on the door startled me. I opened it, dish towel still in hand, and there he was again, leaning in the doorway like he owned the moment. Sorry to drop by unannounced, he said, not sounding sorry at all. I was in the area. Figured I'd check if everything was still connected. My body had the audacity to shiver at that word. I let him in without asking why. We both knew this wasn't about Wi-Fi anymore. There was no issue to fix. No ticket. No router drama. He just wanted to see me. And I wanted him to. It was quiet as he walked in. No more of the playful banter, no excuses. Just this low humming silence that felt heavy with everything we hadn't said. He paused near the kitchen, eyeing the chaos I'd left behind. You cooking? He asked. I shrugged, leaning against the counter. Attempting to. He took a step closer. Smells good. We both knew he wasn't talking about the pasta. It wasn't one moment. It was a series of tiny ones. The shift in his tone, the soft tension in my stomach, the way his fingers brushed the edge of the counter just inches from mine. Then suddenly we were facing each other. Too close. And not close enough. I could feel his breath on my skin. I could hear the tick of the wall clock and the slight catch in his inhale. He didn't touch me. Not yet. But his hand hovered near my hip like he was asking permission without asking. And my body, it was already answering. My chest was rising too fast. My pulse had moved into my throat. I didn't know if I wanted to kiss him or push him against the wall and demand he explain why the hell it felt like I'd been waiting my whole life for this stupidly impossible technician to show up and wreck me. I keep thinking, he said, his voice lower now, about what would happen if I stopped being professional. I swallowed. Barely. I keep thinking you already did. That did it. The air between us snapped. Not with touch but with something stronger. We still hadn't crossed the line. But we were standing on the edge of it. And one wrong breath, one right breath would change everything. Didn't happen like in the movies. No wild music, no dramatic kiss that knocked over a vase or sent us crashing into furniture. It was quieter than that. Slower. Like the moment had been holding its breath. And finally it exhaled. He didn't ask. He just leaned in, not fast, not even sure, just close enough to test the space between us. I didn't move away. His lips brushed mine so softly it almost didn't register at first, like a question whispered against my mouth. I answered by leaning in the rest of the way. And then the world narrowed. There was nothing else. No room. No kitchen. No leftover pasta or blinking router lights. Just the heat between our bodies and the soft, unspoken urgency of finally. His hands found my waist, tentative at first, like he was still deciding if this was real. And then firmer, bolder, pulling me in. My sweater slipped off one shoulder, and his fingers grazed bare skin. My breath caught instantly. He felt it. His touch slowed. Everything slowed. Every inch of contact, Every brush of fabric, every shift in breath, felt like a wave rising, breaking, pulling me under. His lips found the side of my neck, featherlight, and I swear I forgot what day it was. My fingers found the edge of his shirt, tugged lightly, wanting him closer, needing him like a current pulling toward shore. We didn't speak. We didn't have to. His hands were asking. My body was answering. And somewhere in the middle, we were both losing the line between curiosity and craving. When he lifted me onto the counter, slowly with a softness that made me ache, I felt the cold of the marble and the heat of his body collide in one dizzying shiver. He paused, forehead resting against mine, his breath hot and uneven. "I've never," he started, but the words fell off. I didn't let him finish. I kissed him again instead. Deeper this time. Certain. And that was the moment we let it happen, fully, completely, without apology. It wasn't wild. It wasn't frantic. It was slow. Like a secret unfolding. It was heat and hesitation, breath and skin, tension and release. And when it was over, we didn't move. We just stayed there, tangled, breathless, glowing in the soft aftermath of everything that had been building. The Wi-Fi, by the way, was still blinking. But in that moment, I couldn't have cared less. We stayed like that for a while. Bodies tangled, hearts still racing. The soft hum of the kitchen fanned the only sound between us. He traced slow, absent-minded circles on my thigh, and I let my head rest against his shoulder, still catching my breath. For a few perfect minutes, the world felt smaller, simpler. Like maybe everything outside this kitchen, the chaos, the rules, the consequences, could wait. But then he shifted, and something in the air shifted too. He looked at me. Really looked. Like he wasn't sure what came next. And I wasn't either. I sat up, legs dangling off the counter, tugging my sweater back into place. My skin was still warm, my lips swollen from kissing, but my brain was already catching up. He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking younger, maybe a little unsure. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah. Are you?" He gave a half smile. "I don't usually do this." "Sleep with clients?" I teased, trying to lighten the mood, even though I felt a small pit opening in my stomach. He laughed but didn't answer. That silence? Yeah. That's when the questions started flooding in. Was this just a one-time thing? Was I just a hot blip on his route? Would he text? Would he vanish? I hated that I cared. But I did. Because somewhere between the first signal drop and his mouth on mine, I'd let myself hope for more. And now? I was afraid that as soon as he stepped out that door, everything we'd just done would shrink down to nothing more than a really well-executed flirtation. He moved toward the door and turned back like he wasn't quite ready to go. "I'll check on the router again. Just to be sure." I nodded, saying nothing, my throat tight. When he left the room, I just sat there, bare-legged on the counter, staring at the spot where his hands had just been, wondering why the afterglow felt so much like a question. And then I heard his voice, from the living room, quiet but clear. "Your connection's strong now." He paused. "But I might come back anyway." And just like that, the silence didn't feel so heavy anymore. He left without another kiss. Just a look. That slow, unfinished kind of look that stays with you longer than a touch. And a little smile, that crooked, maddening one I was starting to crave. When the door shut behind him, I stayed in the same spot for a minute, still perched on the counter like something might happen if I waited long enough. Like maybe the universe would hit undo and let me relive it all again. Eventually I slid down, legs weak in that delicious, dangerous way. I poured a glass of wine, sat with it, didn't drink it. Instead I opened my laptop, not because of work, not even to check the Wi-Fi, but because something in me needed to see if he'd left me anything. I logged into the support portal again. Same dashboard, same boring options, except one new message notification, blinking softly in the corner. My heart stuttered. Clicked it. There it was. From him. Just one line, buried in the system chat like it had been waiting for me all night. "Still think your signal's the problem?" And then beneath it, "Yes. I left something under your keyboard." I practically lunged across the table. Under the keyboard, folded like a secret, was another little scrap of paper. Same handwriting, same smug ink. The new password? "You're under. I stared at it and laughed. Loud, breathless, absolutely gone. But then curiosity like a spark nudged me again. I clicked into his profile, the one linked to my service history. I had no idea what I was expecting, maybe a name, maybe a tech ID. What I got was a bio line. I can rewire more than your network. Ask nicely. And suddenly every part of me buzzed again. Like maybe the connection wasn't just strong. Maybe it was just beginning.